Hi everyone, Will from Runchat here. In this tutorial we're going to cover a sort of Runchat 101, which takes you through how to create nodes and build workflows using the Runchat editor and generate multiple images and 3D model assets in parallel, which is kind of a fun and simple use case for Runchat. So if you haven't already, head to runchat.app and sign up for a free starter account. Once you confirm your email, you'll be redirected to the editor page with a grid of simple examples to start from. And we're just going to click on New Runchat and we'll build some of these examples today. When you click New Runchat, you get started with a note node that gives you some helpful tips and has a link to our docs, which you should check out if you haven't read through those, as well as creating an AI node on the canvas. The AI node for new users will default to text and image, which can create both text and images, which is pretty useful. We're going to go ahead and delete that node for now, and we're going to start by going to the AI nodes, which we just double click on the canvas to show our node menu, or you can press space to show that, or on mobile you can also hit the plus button down in the action toolbar at the bottom of your screen. I'm just going to double click, we'll go to AI, and we're going to choose image fast. For our prompt, for this exercise, we're just going to generate some 3D models of houseplants. So the prompt that we're going to use here is a Monstera deliciosa in a pot, neutral white background, and I've chosen the image fast model because this is just the quickest, cheapest way to make images in Runchat. And when you're working with kind of draft content like this, like you're learning how to do something, you're trying out a new idea, it's best to just stick with the draft model. I'm going to change the image size down here in the settings bar from 768, which gives us a landscape image, to just 512 by 512 square image. And then we're going to hit play to run the node. That's going to take our image prompt, send it to the image fast model, and generate one image as an output. There it is there. That looks pretty good. Now let's try and create a 3D model from this. So we'll take the output, and another way that we can create nodes is we click and drag from the output, drop on the canvas, and then choose the node that we want to connect it to. I'm going to choose 3D model and just hit play because Runchat's already connected those inputs up for me. The 3D model takes an input image and it generates a textured 3D mesh from that image. It doesn't need a prompt or anything like that. Generating a 3D model costs 100 credits, which is the same as generating a high quality image or a fast draft video. So you can generate quite a few of them on any of the Runchat plans. That's finished creating our model. Let's see how it looks. Not too bad. It's got some white regions. I guess that's where there's this white background on the leaves. But then Monstera, they've sometimes got white regions on their leaves as well. Okay, so this is a really simple creative workflow. We can click on this input output toggle to go back to showing the inputs on our node. I'm going to go back and show my inputs. And now let's build more of a pipeline. So instead of creating just a single plant and having to manually go and change our description or prompt every time we want something different, I'm going to copy that prompt. And what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the canvas and we're going to make an input node and just make an input text node and paste it in there. That just pulls our prompt out of this node here, so we can always see what we're going to generate with it. And you can click and drag just on the blue border of the node to move it around. Anywhere which doesn't have an input field, you can grab that and move it around. If you want to resize the node, you can use this little resize handle here. So let's just move that over here so we've got a bit of spare space between our prompt and the image. Then we're going to take the output of this, or actually no, we're just going to double click on the canvas and we're going to create a format node. Now what I want to do is I want to take this prompt and plug it into the context input of our format node. And the context is where we can provide like anything to our AI model which it needs to know about in order to carry out the task that we want it to do. The task that this node's going to do is I'm going to give it this prompt as an example, and then I'm going to ask it to generate a whole lot more prompts just like it. I'm going to do that using this format node, so I'm reformatting this text as a list of text. So when we choose that format node from the menu, it creates a text prompt like this, adds the format parameter, and defaults it to an array output format. That just constrains the output of this node to a list of items. You can also constrain the format to a bunch of other stuff like numbers, yes/no values, specific objects, and a few other useful formats, which are helpful if you're connecting Runchat to third-party services and APIs. In our prompt, let's go ahead and say, provide some instructions for how to generate our list of output prompts. I'm just going to say, generate a list of 4 image prompts for houseplants. And let's hit play on that node. When you're writing your prompts, you can usually think about them as how you might describe a task to someone else on your creative team. Like, you should provide clear instructions that a human would understand how to follow. Usually being more detailed is useful. Generally speaking, providing examples of what you want is also really useful. If you follow those 2 rules of thumb, your prompts are generally going to be successful. So when we run this node, what we ended up with now is 4 output prompts. So we provided 1 example and we've generated a bunch of different ones. I'm noticing here that all of them, this first one's neutral white background, which is useful for generating our 3D model, and our prompt here has gone and changed the background for all of these other images. Maybe that's what we want in some cases. In this case, I'm going to say keep the neutral white background for each, and just run it again. That's better. Now we have neutral white background for each. So this is a list of items. With Runchat, if we connect a list of items to an input, like our image description here, Runchat is going to create an image or run this node once for each item in this list. So now if we hit run up the top of our workflow, it's going to go ahead and create 4 images of each one of these different plant types. And then it's going to go and create 4 meshes, one for each one of these images. So we get a collection of assets, in this case plants, for use in, say, doing some interior design mock-up or something like that, from a single workflow. We'll just wait for that to generate. Generally speaking, these nodes take the same amount of time to run, regardless of how many inputs you're connecting into them. So making 4 meshes at once will be just as fast as generating 1 mesh. Now we have a pipeline here. There we go, we've got our 4 models. Let's check them out. Nice. Kit of parts. They look really great. We have a pipeline here for generating as many houseplant models as we like. We could go in and change our prompt and say, hey, instead of generating a list of 4 image prompts, generate me 50. And we could generate 50 images and 50 3D models just by clicking run up the top here. The other thing that Runchat does is, at the moment, we've got generate a list of 4 image prompts, 4 houseplants, keep the neutral white background for each. Well, why don't we just make this prompt generic? So instead of generate a list of 4 image prompts with different objects, like this example. Okay, now that's generic. So we can basically now change our example, and we're always going to get 4 different image prompts like it. So we've got a Monstera deliciosa in a pot, neutral white background. I'm going to change this to an inflatable armchair, bright colors and pop graphics, neutral white background. And let's hit play. Going to rerun each one of our nodes in series, generate our list of 4 images, This node is smart enough to understand what we probably want to keep and what we probably want to change. We get 4 images of our different, in this case, weird furniture designs, which are consistent because our prompts are consistent. And in 30 seconds, we'll also have 4 3D models of those images. So that shows you how to use Runchat as a both image and 3D model generation pipeline, how to create variations on prompts for quickly generating different images, and how to write generic prompts so that all you need to do is change the thing at the start, the example that you want to generate, and Runchat is clever enough to figure out how to produce all of your assets for you. Awesome.